Good morning, everybody, and welcome to PSG of Mercer County. And happy Aloha Friday. A couple people visiting us for the first time today, wondering why this guy is wearing a Hawaiian shirt. Every Friday I wear a Hawaiian shirt, just my thing. And so it's Aloha Friday. In Hawaii, Casual Friday, we don't really have Casual Friday anymore in the workforce, but Casual Friday was always called Aloha Friday. And so I like to keep that tradition. And so PSG, the Professional Service Group of Mercer County, is a group that is here for you, anybody that is in any kind of career transition, doesn't matter why and what your circumstances are that led to that. We're here to provide resources, a little bit of guidance, certainly a little support that make you more efficient and effective in your own job search. And actually, in addition to being Happy Aloha Friday, today is National Witch Hazel Day. Witch hazel is a plant, and it's been turned into an astringent probably for over 200 years. And actually, I'm sufficiently cheap that that's my aftershave. I actually put witch hazel on after I shave because it's an astringent and does keep me clean. So that's what I like to use. So if you use witch hazel or thinking about it as an antiseptic or anesthetic, certainly feel free to use it and celebrate today. Also, public service announcement. For those of you that are of the age of Medicare, the open enrollment period has just started. So you may want to look into if you can change or want to change your Medicare plan. If you don't believe me, believe all those actors on those commercials that are reminding us as well. So, but just letting you know, open enrollment for Medicare is already open through December 7th and allows you to make changes for your plan for next year. For those of you who are using Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare or ACA for healthcare, open enrollment starts on the 1st of November. So if you want to make updates to your plan or apply changes, whatnot, you do that then, and that's good until January 15th, so open enrollment is there. For New Jersey residents, you don't use the healthcare.gov website that the federal government set up. You use the Get Covered NJ website. New Jersey has its own exchange website for the government's Affordable Care Act. And other states you'd have to check. I just don't know all the other states. Some states have their own and some use healthcare.gov. So for PSG of Mercer County, like I said, we are here, a group for you, anybody that is in any career transition for any reason. And so what we do is we provide a lot of resources for all of the job seeker support community. And those resources are all free. They're available all online mostly. And so one is our LinkedIn group. So if you are a job seeker and you are on LinkedIn, join our LinkedIn group. It goes by our name, PSG of Mercer County, PSG of Mercer County. So just search for the group in LinkedIn. I think it's in the upper right. There's the button for all the other apps that they have. Groups is one of them. And then once the group's open, search for our group. It is free to join. If you are not yet in LinkedIn, if you're new to job search, haven't created a LinkedIn profile yet, then certainly do so. It is the #1 job search app used by recruiters. So for recruiting, LinkedIn is now the #1 app online. Lots of jobs are posted. Companies are posted there. Individuals that work at those companies, if you're looking to make connections, are there. So make sure you have your profile. Our group has over 1,700 members, and they are all people that have been to at least one of our meetings. So that's one of our requirements. It's actually our only requirement that in order to join our LinkedIn group, you come to at least one of our meetings, in person or virtually. And we do that because we want to just keep out name collectors, list collectors, people that are just trying to collect groups. So if you don't have an interest, if those people don't have an interest in job search, helping job seekers, being in the job search community, we try to keep those out. So we have over 1,700 members. You can connect with any one of them. It's a good idea to post some information, maybe your introduction. Hello, my name is, this is who I am, get introduced. Comment, share articles, post, whatever you have. Be active in LinkedIn as often as you're comfortable doing so. Another resource we have is our website. It is called psgofmercercounty.org, psgofmercercounty.org. It is more than just a landing page. It is over 120 web pages of content. So there's a lot of information on our website. One is a tab right on the top. It's called Resources. And it's chock full of resources. And when you click on that, it has these columns, 2 columns of icons, and they all have links. There are 48 different resources that are there. So all meant to help job seekers. Now, it could be that not all those 48 are specifically relevant to you, but there's 48 there. For instance, 16 are other networking groups that are like this. So if you like this concept of meeting people in groups, getting to know more people, you may find other groups that are a little bit local, so those take a look. We have 32 other resources that are career resources, so you can take a look in there. Some of them are state agencies, and some of them are job boards, so there are some that are there. Go take a look. We even have one link for a personal wellness website, so if you feel that you have a need to attend to your personal wellness, and we have another link for mental health, for people that are feeling a little stressed or concerned and want to talk to someone. And they're not kind of sanctioned by us, not our people. They're independent sites, so if you feel you need some independent person to talk to on those topics, you can. It's not the be-all and end-all, but it's a good starting point if you haven't started down that path. And there's lots of other pages there. Just look around. Remember, over 120 web pages of content. So in just a moment, I'm going to turn the meeting over to our wonderful presenter, Debra, and then she will present the slides, and we will again administer questions either online or we're not a very big group, so if you want to even unmute yourself, for those of you who are remote, just say, oh, excuse me, Debra, I've got a question. That's fine. I'm sure she'll take questions and answers later. And then when our meeting ends later, we're going to keep the virtual session open. So for those of you that are online, not those of us here, you can kind of network and talk among yourselves online. We'll do that for a while. And those of us that are hanging around here can chit chat with each other, or any of us on the executive committee from the group. We're happy to chat with you as well. Okay, so I think we're good to go. My mic is on. Debra's mic is on. And mine will be off in a moment. So PSG of Mercer County is pleased to welcome, and actually welcome back, Debra Wheatman. Debra is the founder and president of Careers Done Right, a marketing and personal branding company. With her background in corporate human resources with financial services, advertising, and media and entertainment companies, Debra guides clients to establish and reach goals aligned with their professional needs. Debra works in career management, leadership strategy, interpersonal engagement, and change management in post-merger and acquisition environments. Debra holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Communications from Adelphi University. Yay, Long Island. She is a certified professional resume writer and certified professional career coach. She has been featured on Fox Business News, CNBC, Forbes, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post. Her forthcoming book, actually, I don't know if it's forthcoming. Is it forthcoming?
It's published.
Published. Her published book, which is titled, and I didn't write it down, is published already this year, and I'm terribly sorry, Debra, I used this from the last. PSG of Mercer County is very pleased to welcome someone who has done right by lots of people for a very long time, Debra Wheatman.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you. So this morning we're going to be talking about brand building, which is very important because you are part of what you are is your brand, and how you put forth yourself and what you say about yourself and how you present yourself really informs how other people see you. Oh, here we go. I'll just do it this way. This image is part of my brand, and like most of you, or I hope most of you who have a presence on LinkedIn, maybe you have a presence on Facebook, maybe you have a presence on Instagram, or any of the other social sites, wherever you see this photo of me, I use the same photo everywhere because it is part of my brand. And as part of brand building and managing and maintaining and growing your brand, you want to have something that is consistent, so that when people go to those sites or they look at anything about you, that there is a consistency about your brand. You shouldn't be using pictures or emojis or any of this stuff as part of your brand. It doesn't set you up for success. What it does do is sort of calls into question, what is it are you trying to say about yourself? If you have a professional photo, whether you have it taken or someone in your family takes it for you, as long as it is illustrative of your brand and what you want people to feel when they see you, you're probably in good shape. branding is really serious business, and having a well-defined brand is really important for you. You want to make sure that your brand is memorable, that when people look at the content you write, or they look at your photo or something that you're saying, that you're delivering information that aligns with your goals. People go to work every day, they work all day long, and when you're there, you want to make sure that the people internally, as well as any stakeholders or other people externally, are engaging with your brand in a way that sets you apart. It creates an anchor between you and your audience, and you're going to be working your brand every single day because it is portable. It's not something that stays static. You're not the same person today that you were likely 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 10 years ago. And because of that, you need to constantly look at your brand, see what's going on, what are you doing, what has changed, and what has changed not only within you, but with also with the people around you and your personal and professional life and goals. And to David's point, please feel free to stop me because I won't lose my place. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them as we go through this. What is your brand? Well, your brand is really the story of you. When you engage with people, when you meet people, when you build those relationships, what you're doing in part is creating that connection and that brand with other people. So you might be asking, how does this align with job search? How does this align with my professional goals? How does this align with my aspirations? I will tell you, it evokes feelings of trust, and it also allows you to inform other people. And you're doing so in a way that's you're sort of, how do I want to put it? You're making them feel a certain way so they come back to you with things that are aligned with what you're looking for. I often say to people, when you're looking for a job, right, you put out your resume, you start meeting with people, you network, and you do all of the things to try to engage your audience. This is the same thing. You want to leave an impression that makes people feel and think a certain way about you. And they say, and it is true, and everyone's heard this, first impressions are lasting ones. And the reason for that is because the tone you set up front is generally the thing that people, that stays with them. It's the thing that stays with them. Their initial assessment of you is the thing that remains with them. Let's talk about some case studies in good branding. We all know about Nike. We know about Coca-Cola. What do you think of when you think of Nike? Well, you think of perseverance, right? You think of people running marathons. You think of people getting their sweat on. You think of people that are dedicated, diligent in the pursuit of optimal health, perhaps. For Coca-Cola, you think of people getting together, having gatherings, families coming together, good times. They have established these brands over the course of time. And I don't know how many of you remember, I'm sure most of you do. Remember the Coca-Cola commercial where they were all standing on a field and everybody had their hands around each other and they're all like happy and you know, drinking Coke? That's what they want you to take away. And I still remember that commercial, like I'm sure many of you do, that feeling of camaraderie, that feeling of closeness, that feeling of engagement and happy times is something that you likely associate with Coke, just like you associate running, basketball, soccer, and all of these other things. You associate that with Nike. You associate it with that powerful feeling that you get when you complete something, a personal goal, a personal mission. These logos, very attached to these companies' brands. Similarly, and going back to my photo of the picture, your photo attached to your brand. I can give you a number of examples of people with whom I've worked that have had just different photos all over the place. it doesn't work for you. You'll want to have something consistent. Somebody sent, I guess this is a chat here. Let's see if I can grab it. Okay. Yes, I'd like to teach the world to sing. Exactly. Thank you for that. That is correct. I'd like to teach the world to sing. That was Coke's, the song that led into that whole thing where they were standing on the field, in the field. So that's exactly right. And that you remember that is amazing, right? Because it left an indelible impression on you. The first step in defining your brand. Consider the following, and this is really, really important. So ask me questions about this. Your brand is about what you enjoy doing. It's about the areas in which you excel. It's about the things that people see in you. It's about what you see in yourself. And part of brand building also is going to the market. Go to the market. Get feedback from people that you know, family, friends, coworkers, subordinates, superiors. In order to build your brand effectively, you need to get a full holistic view of what it is and how other people see you. You have a view of yourself, of course. We all have a view of ourselves. And some people are better at understanding these things, knowing yourself. Some people are better at knowing themselves than others. But in order to get a really good understanding of your brand, you need to get feedback from the market. And you also need to understand and appreciate what your weaknesses are. We all have them. Nobody is without them. And while some people are better at taking them and turning them around into strengths and working on them, it's important that that part of what you bring to your brand is also incorporated, not just because it gives you a window into the future of what your brand could be, but it also helps you work on the things where you need some assistance, where you need to work on change. So that's a very important thing. Don't just internalize what it is you see about yourself, but ask other people. It will provide you a forum from which to make changes and continue to evolve your brand. LinkedIn, and we were talking about LinkedIn just before David was talking about it. LinkedIn is the 800-pound gorilla, if you will. And being active on LinkedIn is very important because it allows you to further extend your network, further extend your brand, and allow you opportunities to grow the network of people with whom you're connected. Don't ignore LinkedIn. And I know for some of you, and even for myself, I'm a very private person. And if it were up to me, to be perfectly honest, I likely wouldn't be there. But of course, I need to be there. And we all need to have a presence on LinkedIn. One, because, as I just said, it really is about extending your network and building that and growing it and maintaining it and allowing your brand to come through. But it also allows you a forum to share your ideas and further establish your brand as a thought leader in your area. That's why it's so important. Millions and millions of people all over the world are on LinkedIn. They're sharing their ideas, they're sharing their content, some of which is not relevant for you, right? Some of it is, and I'm sure you've seen people getting into like things on LinkedIn, right? They're talking about all sorts of stuff like politics, like religion, and things like that. Stay away from all of that stuff. It's not going to do you any good, and it's not going to do your brand any good. Every time I post something on LinkedIn, I really do think about, how is this going to be perceived? And I'm not suggesting in any way that you shouldn't have interactions on LinkedIn and sort of spark conversation over things that might be slightly controversial, but I don't mean controversial where people are, they're willing to die on the hill. I'm talking about conversations about business and things that impact you professionally. I'm fine with that. It's the other stuff that people post that you get sucked down this rabbit hole into things that have no, professional relevance, if you will. Not being on LinkedIn, it's almost like you don't exist, because when you start to look for work, if you're doing that now or you're employed or whatever the case may be, at some point in the process, usually at the beginning of the funnel, if you will, people will go and they'll look you up. And that is part of how you want to represent your brand. Don't limit yourself, though, just to LinkedIn. Perhaps you might want to have a presence on Facebook, which I find is really more for things that are personal in nature. Maybe you want to have a presence on Twitter, which, you know, your mileage may vary. I don't find Twitter very effective. If you are in the arts and things that are visually appealing, maybe you're on Instagram. I don't know about any of you. TikTok, maybe that's a place for you. I'm not on TikTok. I mean, my 17-year-old shows me some pretty funny things on TikTok, but really all I do is look at them. I don't actively engage on TikTok. But it would be interesting to hear from any of you. Do you actively engage on TikTok? And if you do, what have you found? Feel free to let me know if you want to discuss anything about TikTok. And, you know, Michael, thank you. Web designer, yes, you probably have a book, correct? You have a book of your work. So Instagram would be a good place for you because it's very visual there and you can absolutely showcase your work on there. You can also cross-post, of course, to LinkedIn because, okay, very good, starting to get one. You can cross-post because you could share your ideas, and there are other web designers and creative people all across the internet, including on LinkedIn. And on your LinkedIn profile page, you could also link to some of your work as well. So there is an opportunity to cross-post and really have that engagement that rolls up from multiple places. As I was talking about before, the things that I said to stay away from, I like to use what I call my grandma rule. My grandmother, if she were here today, and I loved my grandmother very much, would she want to read some of the things that people put on LinkedIn? I don't post things or talk about things that I know she might be disappointed in me if I put that out there. I did say TikTok. I did talk about TikTok. Your TikTok, I'm just going back because someone asked a question. So TikTok, if you're on TikTok, that's a live platform. So people make these short vignettes, if you've ever seen them, some of which are, a lot of it's funny stuff, but not all of it. Some people on there, and I've seen some career people on there, and their topics are obviously more serious, not all of them, but some of them, and they're short, and you can make TikTok videos. I have not gone that route, but it might work for you depending upon what your goals are and what you're looking to achieve. When you think of someone, what do you think? This is part of the whole brand building thing. I was talking about Coke before, joy, happiness, Nike, athleticism. The brand that you showcase should always be centered around that question. What do you want people to take away from your brand? When they engage with you, what do you want them to take away from that engagement? Your brand presents your unique value. And this is something that I really would like to talk about for a quick minute here. Your unique value proposition, your UVP. That's a very important thing for you to define. And I'm going to talk in a few minutes about your elevator pitch because I know that all of you probably have worked on that and are constantly working on it or refining it, etc. Your unique value proposition is the thing that defines you. It is part of your brand and what you want people to know about you and what they think about you. So for me, I'll use myself as an example. When I define my unique value proposition, I say I am a brand expert and I express people's brands through the development of their resumes, their board resumes, their cover letters, their LinkedIn profiles. And I help them determine what their brand value is so that I can present their information in a meaningful way that connects with other people. And that's what I say about what I do. It's easy, it's short, it's less than 30 seconds, and it will allow me to quickly tell people what I am, what I offer, and they'll completely understand that. You want people to walk away with an understanding of who and what you are from a quick soundbite. It's important to do that. And it goes back to what I was saying before. Write things down. You're going to write it down because you have to understand and have to bring to this information so that you can create your unique value. It's what people think of you when you're no longer in front of them. That's your brand. Who's your audience? It's important to target and understand who your audience is. Why? Because if you don't understand that, you're going to be wildly all over the place. Figure out who's the hiring manager, what industry do they work in, what are the types of companies, and this one is really, really important. What issues or what problems are they trying to solve? Because part of what you're going to do as you pursue new opportunities is share with people how your background, skills, abilities will meet their need as far as the role that they're looking to fill. And knowing who your audience is critical to telling your story because it allows you to formulate really a bespoke story for people based upon what you know their need is. And that comes from research. It comes from research. As a brand builder, as a writer, I'm constantly doing research, and it's amazing to me how many times people don't tell me things as part of writing. So I'm working with a gentleman right now, a really, really lovely guy, and the call, because I always do a call with people, the call was great. You know, I generally spend an hour, sometimes more, with people learning about them. But it was amazing. After I got off the call and I started writing, I started, using Google, of course, because the Google provides answers to everything. And I'm looking up the company that it's an association that he works for, and I'm looking at their website and the about, and I'm Googling his name, and I'm, going past, of course, the first few pages. And it was amazing. He left out like some really critical things about not only the company, but about things that were directly related to him that I couldn't understand why he didn't share them with me. Well, they did wind up in the subsequent resume that I shared with him, and I wound up sending him a text and saying, hey, just sent you your first drafts. I hope you like them. I did a lot of research, as you'll see, because I found all of these things. There were about 4 or 5 things that I included in there that we didn't talk about. Research is critical to building your brand. It helps you understand your market space. It helps you, as I said, understand how other people perceive you because you get that full view. It helps you become inspired. It helps you to understand where the company fits in terms of its competitive landscape. Think about writing down these ideas, and I like to keep like a journal. I'm still a little bit old school. I like to write things down, as maybe some of you like as well, and it helps me to reflect on things because branding is also about reflection. And Maya Angelou, as you probably all know, said it's not, and I'm quoting, but not exactly, people will remember how you made them feel. That's why branding is so important, because it's an inside job, and how you make people feel is the thing they take away from the interactions with you. Any questions? Anybody, anything? Well, I'll take a sip of water. Okay, I don't see anything in the chat, so I will keep going.
Anybody here have a question or so for Debra?
Yes.
What? No, just making sure the room here had that opportunity.
Oh, gotcha.
And,
Gotcha.
No questions. Yeah, no questions in chat as well. But of course, have any questions, just raise your hand. I'll monitor right here.
All right, cool. Thank you. Informational interviews are super important. Why? For a lot of reasons, not the least of which that you get to understand something about the industry, about what drew someone to their position or industry or role, if you will. It also allows you to get advice about a particular company or a position. It allows you to understand more about a person, about their values and goals and the culture of an environment. Informational interviews are very, very important. a lot of people, and I'm sure it's happened to, it's happened to me, it's happened to everyone. And because I work with so many different people, I can tell you honestly, people make mistakes, right? They take opportunities that you should walk away from. Maybe sometimes it's out of fear, sometimes it's because they are not listening to their inside voice, whatever the reason is. Informational interviews allow you an opportunity to really learn about a company and how it operates and what the culture is. And that is very, very important for you to avoid missteps. That doesn't mean that they won't happen. To err is human and we all make mistakes, right? However, if you do informational interviews and you learn and you do that research and you allow yourself the opportunity to really understand how a company operates and what their culture is like, you'll have a better chance of making good decisions for yourself. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing worse really. Well, there are worse things, but it's really hard when you take a position and you're sort of blindsided. You walk in the first day, you've gone through the interview process, which is usually very lengthy, and you find that it turns out that it's not the right fit. And doing the informational interviews and really learning about the industry and the players and things like that will help you avoid making decisions that don't work for you, both professionally or personally. Let's see, there are a couple of questions or maybe comments here. I did a search and found a web designer who has my name. Yes. That happens, that does happen. And I do have a little story about that. It's not great. There was someone with whom I worked and he had the same name as someone in a different state that also had a criminal record. Yeah, it was a problem because he was getting a lot of interviews and then he wasn't getting offers, and we were trying to figure out why. Well, after a search, guess what we uncovered? That was the problem. And so basically after that, during his interviews, he would say to people, listen, if you're going to go and look me up, and I would encourage you to do so, there is a person with my name and we're not the same person. He has a criminal record and I do not. Thankfully, that cleared things up for him and he did get a really great job. So Google yourself is the answer. So you said, I mentioned earlier, yes, do not copy your resume into LinkedIn. You're allowed to, okay, yes. So typically what I recommend for LinkedIn is you're going to write your about section. You can turn on creator mode and add talks about and the hashtags of the things you talk about. And then for your professional experience section, I generally talk about there just a couple of lines. I do not copy and paste content from your resume. I don't do like a copy and paste, and I don't recommend that. For the professional experience section, you could take like a little snippet, but the about section is really where you want to spend most of your time. And someone, informational interviews, is there any way I can help you? I have to be honest, I disagree with you there. People will not know how you can help them. They will politely say, oh, you know what, I'll give that some thought. When someone says to me, how can I help you? I actually have no idea. What I would prefer that people say, and what I say to someone instead, is I have this piece of research that I have found that I think might be relevant for you. I'm going to share it with you. I wrote this brand guide, and based upon what I know you're looking for, I'm going to email it to you. I understand that you have an informational or traditional interview coming up. I wrote an interview guide. It's about 25 pages. Would you like me to share it? I offer somebody something. I don't ask them how I can help them. As many times as someone has asked me, Deb, how can I help you? My answer is the same. I will have to give that some thought and I'll let you know. Because the answer is I just don't know, not right out of the gate. Maybe at some point I might, but asking someone how you can help them is the onus is then on them to tell you. And for a lot of people, that's not a great, they don't really know. And they have a lot on their plate anyway, and that just gives them something else that they have to think about. Let's talk about your elevator pitch. Creating your elevator pitch is important because one is connected to your brand. And I shared with you before what my elevator pitch is. and refining it, working on it. People sometimes say to me, "You're a resume writer." No, I am not. I am a brand expert who expresses someone's brand through the development of their materials, including their resume, their board resume, their LinkedIn profile, their bio, any letters I write. If resumes went away tomorrow, I would still be relevant. So I am a brand expert, not a resume writer. Do I write resumes? Yes, but it is not my brand. My brand is as a brand builder. Think about that when you are coming up with your own elevator pitch and what you want to share with the world about your brand, what you are, as far as that overarching theme, not these tactical things, which are part of your brand, but they are not your brand. Focus on the key things you want to share with your audience about what makes you special and unique. And you know what? There are so many things about you that are special and unique. And if you take the opportunity and the time to talk about your brand, get information from the market, you will come up with an amazing brand for yourself that you will then evolve over time. And I like to say, get it round enough to roll, right? Because you know, these things change over time and you have to be able to, they're portable. They're just portable. Networking is the #1 tool for your brand. Very, very important. How many of you, by a show of hands or tell me in the chat, a lot of times maybe you haven't done such a great job of networking. It's not because you don't want to. Some people are less comfortable with networking than others, right? Some people don't really enjoy that. They don't like it. However, it is a very important part of getting yourself out there, meeting people, and leveraging that network to identify new opportunities. Why? Because we all know what it's like to apply online, right? It's a black hole. And it can be really, really frustrating because I'm sure many of you have applied for a position online for which you're perfect. You tick all of the boxes and everything aligns, and yet you never get a call. Or you apply online and maybe you get a call some of the time. I have a couple of clients, well, more than a couple. They have applied online and then found someone to whom they reached out and said, "I'd like to speak with you. I have a copy of my resume. I'd like to furnish that, give that to you, and perhaps you can share that with the hiring manager." The hiring manager has reached out to these people. "Yes, we think you're a good fit. Why don't we set up an interview?" Simultaneously, they've gotten a rejection letter, which tells you what? It tells you that these ATS, applicant tracking systems, they are horribly flawed, and some are worse than others. Do not rely on the internet for your job search. There's only 4 ways to look for work. It's direct to company, through the internet, through your network, which is most important, and through recruiters. You have to use them all, but they are not all created equal. Best practices for networking. It's not just about what someone can do for you, which brings me to my previous point about offering someone something. So asking someone or actually telling them what you're going to share with them is a great way to build a connection with someone because it's memorable. They will remember that you shared something with them, and it will help set you apart as you go through the process of job searching, of networking. It is a proactive endeavor. Don't wait until you're desperate for work. You should be networking all the time. And I know that it's hard because when you start working, you're like immersed in your work. You're like, okay, I have all these deliverables I need to do. I have these meetings. Some of the days maybe you're working from home. Other days you're in the office. We have lives and kids and all of the stuff that takes time that we're trying to juggle all of these things simultaneously. However, networking is the key thing that when you find yourself either through your own doing or because it was done to you, where you are looking for a new opportunity, it's your network that will really help get you through. And you will find that your network, though likely small, Sometimes help comes from the most unlikeliest of places. You will really find out who your friends are as you start networking and as you start building your brand and as you start looking for opportunities. It's amazing, the number of times people have shared with me, applicant trashing system. Yes, indeed. I'm going to actually steal that. So thank you. I also like to call Facebook Faceplace. But the applicant trashing system is definitely something. I'm totally all about it. And I also think, just from my previous slide, Twitter is a total dumpster fire. I would not go there. Anyway, your network. Your network is going to be the thing that helps you as you go through the job search process in what I would like to say, a non-COVID world where we are, I think now, maybe moving back more into in-person meetings. I mean, I know, well, this is Florida, so I'll tell you, they never really thought COVID was a thing here anyway, even though I did, and it is a thing. People are now more meeting in person, and they're doing things that are in person. If you can, and you're comfortable, of course, go do them. Even though I know sometimes you're like, okay, I would really rather just, put on my bunny slippers and watch The Blacklist. Go out, get out there and meet people. Believe me, I feel you, because I have to network too. And I'm part of some groups here, and sometimes 7 o'clock on a Thursday night, I don't really want to go out, but I force myself because it's important that you meet people and they get to know who you are. Referrals are one of the top ways that companies fill positions right now, and just in general. Oh my goodness, why does this thing not want to go? All right. Don't make people take just your word for it. These are some testimonials. This is my LinkedIn, and I have a lot of testimonials on my LinkedIn profile. The reason testimonials are really great for you is because it supports your brand, of course, but also when people go look you up, if they're going to interview someone for a position and you have 7 testimonials and another person has none, who do you think is going to get the interview or get more attention? Well, you are, of course, because you have people directly that have written about you and how wonderful you are and the experience of working with you. And I do have a little tip for you about your testimonials page. Right, none of your networking contacts want to be dropped like a hot potato when you land. That is correct. And thank you for that, because I'll just talk about that for a second. When you're networking and you're meeting with people and one of your connections lands, that person should really be willing and able to serve as a resource for you. Maybe there's an opportunity in their company that would be good for you. Stay in touch with people when you land. Do not forget where you come from. You were just in that position. So it's important that you remember that and not forget the people who supported you throughout the process of your search, especially if your search is a long one. Remember that those people helped you, and perhaps it would be good for you now to return the favor, being that you've landed a new opportunity, and keep those people in mind. And I think this group in particular is good at that. Like, I know David has, talks about that, and it is important, okay? Make sure you do that for people. Okay, let me see. I'm getting a note here. I got to chat. Oh, okay. So Carol, thank you, Dr. McCullough, right? Thank you. She put something in the chat. I think this went to everyone about opportunities that are open. Thank you. That's great. And this is what people should be doing, because this is an important thing. Paying it forward is critical. Do not forget the people who helped you and supported you. Back to my testimonials. If you want testimonials, you can ask people, and they will likely help you out. They'll basically, what they'll do is either they'll write you a testimonial, or in some cases, and this will help you get more testimonials, write it yourself. That way you know what it is you want to say or want them to say. You'll ensure that the testimonial is free of any errors, because that's important as well, because you're writing it and you're going to be careful. And then you can send that to them and they can then just post it for you. Okay, they're willing to write you the testimonial, but people get busy. They forget things. Just all sorts of things happen in life, right? It's, we live in a very interesting times, let's say. And writing it yourself, there's nothing wrong with that. If it'll help you get the testimonials, go right ahead. Write it yourself and say, you know what, Deb, I'm going to write the testimonial for you to help you out. Most people will be like, yes, please, that's awesome. And then they will post it for you. Analytics. I like analytics because it tells you where you are. It tells you, how things are progressing. Analytics, there's a lot of analytics on LinkedIn, and I don't know about you, but these things a little bit confuse me, only because they constantly are changing the algorithm on there, and things change so often, and then they don't tell you. So there are analytics. It might take some doing, because the thing that you were measuring before is not the thing that you're measuring now. So you do need to keep on top of that. But the analytics can tell you how content that you're putting out on the platform is performing. And if you see that a certain time of day, it's getting more likes or comments or shares than another time of day, then maybe you restructure the posting or what you're posting about, or when you're posting, to make sure that your content is engaging with your audience. You don't have to post, you don't have to come up with an editorial calendar on LinkedIn, okay? You don't. What I do recommend that you do, however, is have a consistent schedule. So if you say, okay, I'm gonna post every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, do it every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That way you do have a little schedule for yourself, and even if you're posting one thing, also remember to comment on other people's posts, because their network will see it, and then it will likely tie back to you. I can tell you that from posting, because I post every single day, and I put up a video weekly, and thank you for that. Yes, analytics.google.com can help you sort of keep that all in one place. I do post every day, and we make changes occasionally because we know that some things work better, whatever, but I will tell you that commenting on other people's posts also drives a lot of engagement. So make sure you do that. Show the person behind the brand. I mentioned earlier that I'm a pretty private person, and I do not really like to promote things or put things out on social media that are personal in nature. For the most part, I keep things really, really professional. I don't post about, sometimes you'll see, you guys tell me, you've seen things on LinkedIn, right? People are posting stuff where there's pictures like, they're in the hospital or someone's in the hospital, or they're talking about things that are really personal in nature. And, everybody is different. This is not something that I would do. And LinkedIn is a business platform. And my personal and professional opinion is that it should remain that way, free from things that are, and I'm not saying that you can't have an emotional connection from a business platform, but things that tie to like health-related illnesses and things like that, I just don't think belong on that platform. However, we've all seen it, right, where people are hooked up to an IV in a hospital or whatever. So some people do get very personal on LinkedIn. That is not my preference, but there are some instances where someone will send me, like someone sent me a gift card. She got a really amazing job. The company that hired her relocated her to another city, paid for her relocation. So her thank you to me, this was her thank you to me. So I shared that. In other instances, I've shared when my son, a few years ago, when he graduated from college, I posted about that. So when my daughter finds out where she's going to college, because she just applied to a bunch of schools, I'll likely post about that, because it is something that is, even though it's personal, other people, I think, can connect to those things. And, I just say be careful about the things that you do post. Again, the best advertising campaigns are things that do connect on that personal level, but there is a little bit of a, gap between what's personal and engaging versus what is, really too personal to share on a platform like this. Everything you say, do, it comes back to haunt you, or it can. Once you put something out online, I don't care how much scrubbing you think you're going to do. It's out there. So I tell people, just be careful about the things that you post, because when you're looking for work, you don't know who your audience is. You don't know who likes what, who likes or doesn't like something, what their ideas or tendencies are. You just don't know. And I'm just careful about that, because I don't really I'm not interested in offending anyone. I have my own ideas about things and my feelings. I don't necessarily think other people should be let into that part of my life. Like that curtain should stay closed, in my opinion. And I think it will really help you to do so, because you'll keep it professional. People will respect you, and you won't miss out potentially on an opportunity because you've made someone angry somewhere about something that you said or posted about and were willing to really go to town about, that just disagrees with someone else's ideology. And I'm not saying that it's perfectly fine to think what you think, but if you're looking for work, you want to keep that completely above board. I don't know if any of you remember, but this is several years ago, there was a young woman who applied to, and this part of the story is particularly important, she applied to a woman-owned company, all women. The company was owned by a woman founder, and all of the staff were women. She was on Instagram, because people do post pictures of themselves on Instagram. They do. They put up pictures with their friends. They put up pictures with them on a boat, in a bikini or whatever. Well, she was at the beach. She posted a photo of herself in a bikini, and I think she was with like her friends, and she had applied to this woman-owned company. Well, the company went ahead and on social media basically lambasted her for posting a picture of herself in a bikini. Well, I'm sorry, what does one wear to the beach? People wear bathing suits. It's the equivalent, really, of walking around in a bra and underwear, honestly, right? Because that's what a bikini is. And they really sort of attacked her, and for no good reason. Well, let me tell you, Faceplace, Twitter, the dumpster fire that is Twitter, they went after this company like you would not believe. Talk about a brand killer. This company, they got their butt handed to them for a number of reasons, not the least of which is, again, what is someone supposed to wear to the beach, right? What do most people wear to the beach? Not everybody, but a lot of people wear bathing suits to the beach. That's what's acceptable there. And why would you attack her for doing something that is acceptable in that setting? She wasn't wearing a bikini to a black tie affair. And while she didn't, of course, get that role, which she didn't want it anyway, but she did get a lot of other offers and wound up taking a position. This sort of, while it was an unfortunate situation for her, it wound up really working in her favor. And the company, well, you know what? They didn't do so well. I think they're still in business, but their brand got squashed because of that. So that just goes back to my point, little storytelling for you there. Your brand, it is a long-term commitment. I like to say, get this round enough to roll, because it is portable. It is something that will change over time. Your brand today is not your brand next week, next year, whatever, 2 years, 10 years from now. I'm going to get to your question one second in a minute. Your brand, it's important. Make sure you look at it, write things down, keep notes. People have a habit of not keeping notes about things that are really important, and then they don't remember. Again, we all live in a very fast and furious environment called life. And keeping good notes for yourself, whether you do that digitally or in writing, is critical to ensuring that you can reflect on things, look back and say, oh yeah, I remember that. and maybe you make that as part of your brand. Someone asked a question, what is recommended for a LinkedIn profile picture, types of clothes? I will tell you. You can take a selfie or have someone take a picture for you, not a selfie. Have, husband, wife, mother, brother, sister, whatever, take a photo. You can get a professional headshot done if you like. But generally speaking, I think the LinkedIn photos that are the best are the ones where you're wearing, something that's like, a blouse, maybe a jacket. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be in a suit and tie. We're in an environment and a culture and a life right now. People, they don't get, dressed so much anymore, right? If you want to have your LinkedIn profile be a little bit more engaging, you don't necessarily need to have on a suit and tie. You can have, maybe a jacket and a button down, or maybe you have the tie and a button down. And if you want, and if you're the type of person that loves the whole look, then go ahead, no judgment. Wear what makes you comfortable. Make sure you smile in your LinkedIn photo. That's an important thing. People put up LinkedIn photos that look like mugshots. Why? Why are you doing that? Put up a photo where you're smiling and it looks like you want people to engage with you. People want to engage with other people that it looks warm and open. So those are the types of photos that I think you should put up. I'm partial to black, actually, but feel free to add a little color to your LinkedIn photo. And, a nice natural pose is nice. I'm not a fan of the ones where you'll see someone like this. I don't love those photos because it really looks staged. I would prefer something that is, where you're smiling and it looks like you can engage with someone, but a professional photo. I hope that answers that question. This is part of my LinkedIn and where I engage, and I'm showing this so that you can sort of get a sense of the engagement level. My engagement is pretty high on LinkedIn. I do respond a lot to other people. I try to maintain an active presence on there, as I imagine you would want to as well, especially if you're looking for a new opportunity, so that people can react to your comments, you can react to their comments, and you can generally support each other. Again, that level of engagement, it helps expand your network to other people, including the people that these people are attached to, and so on and so forth. And we have come to the conclusion of this chat today. I hope you guys have found it informational and useful. I do have a brand guide that I have written. It's about 5 pages. I also have an interview guide that is about, I'd say, 25 pages. And I am happy to share those tools with all of you if you would like. You can reach me through LinkedIn or through email. You can't not find me, I like to say, and I'm happy to share it with you individually if you would like to have a copy of one or both of those things. If you would like me to include you as part of my newsletter, which goes out every Friday, I'm happy to do that as well, and you can let me know if that is something you're interested. I did write a book. It is called Help to Hired. If you're interested in checking that out, it is available on Amazon if you want to go look at it. It's not Moby Dick, so don't get nervous. It's really a guide to help people understand the steps to pursuing new opportunities and the things to do, and it also has a bunch of case studies in there. So if anybody is interested in that. It has been a genuine pleasure to speak with all of you today. I hope you found it useful and helpful for you, and I am here to answer any questions if you have any right now or in the future.
Terrific. Thank you, Deborah. Anyone, those of you online, if you've got a question, maybe quickly unmute. And those of you here, if you've got a question, just raise a hand and we'll recognize you as well. So have at it, folks. Well, I've got a question. One topic that I don't think came up may be relevant. Deborah, what do you think about having a professional website? Someone who is, a professional having their own website.
So if you're going to maintain it and you're going to keep content on it, by all means, if you have enough content that might prove useful for other people and as part of your job search, then absolutely there's nothing wrong with having a professional website. What I have found with professional websites is that people don't maintain them, and then they sort of fall into, they're not used. And if you're really good at it, then great. But having a professional website done and really have it be well done, it's not an inexpensive endeavor, right? Or if you're someone who's really good at that and you can do it yourself, that's great. But I find that most people are not, they can't develop their own website unless they have those skills. They're a web developer or whatever. It just your mileage may vary. I think that sometimes, really in the world in which we live today, people are going to go to your LinkedIn. Will they go to your professional website? I'm sure that some people will, yes. And if you feel that you have, again, enough content and information to populate a professional website that might be useful for your search, then by all means.
Terrific. Okay, thank you. And by the way, for those of you who are interested, if you want a web address but you're not ready or able to build a website, you can go to Google Domains, and a web address costs $12 a year to register. So it's not a big expense. And you may just point it to your LinkedIn profile until you figure out what you are going to do with it. So anyone who wants to, we can talk offline more about that, but that's an option.
Yeah. This is Charlie. For those creative people who, are creating graphics and stuff like that, and they've got a ton of it in their portfolio, don't go out there and put it all up on the website day one. Plan out how you're going to drop that stuff. So it's issued like a newsletter type concept. What just happened?
Yeah, or you can use it as like a blog posting. Those could be the
that's what I mean. Is something that comes out periodically. Post something there every Friday.
Yeah, and certainly building a blog site, which is a website also, is a simpler than one with lots of pages. So that may be an option as well. So thanks, Charlie.
It's just like it's attach a string, and there used to be a website many years ago that posted jokes on a weekend, and I used to go there and look at the cartoons. But if you've got something relevant to an audience and you drop it every week, then you have a consistent audience. You have return customers.
We do have a question in the room.
Hi, Debra. Thank you very much for all the information. I have a quick question. Do you think it's worth investing on having somebody look at your resume and professionally, or you think just like the networking and just getting engaged and sending a resume is the way to go? I'm not sure.
So here's what I'll tell you. If you have a toothache, right? Do you correct your own, situation there? You likely don't. You go to a dentist. If you're not great with accounting, you likely let someone do your accounting for you, right? If you're not great at talking about yourself, which most people are not when it comes to their resume, because it's uncomfortable for people to talk about themselves in a way that they need to on their resume, then it's probably a good idea to have someone write it for you or review it and help you define your brand therein. I mean, this is why most people come to me, because they're not great at talking about themselves in that way, because it forces you to really be overly, you're like talking about yourself in a way you're bragging to some degree, right? But you need that. You need to be able to present yourself in a way that allows people to understand how fabulous you are. And it's critical to have a resume that presents the positive attributes that you all have and all the skills and abilities and talents. And I find that People, when they write their own resumes, they do a couple of things that are just not good for them. They're too humble. They don't add enough quantifiable achievements. The way that I write for people is two ways: aspirationally and outcome driven. Aspirationally, because you have things in your background that inform your ability to do something. It doesn't matter that you haven't done it. You can do it. That's the first way. The second way, as I said, is outcome driven. It's critical that you include the achievements in your resume. And I recognize that not everybody has, grew business by 87%, and that's fine. But there are other ways to capture your achievements that will resonate with your audience. And a lot of times the resumes that I've written for over 10,000 people, and I can count on one hand the number of times that I've seen a resume where I'm like, okay, this person did an exceptional job. Like literally on one hand out of 10,000 people. Most people cannot do it for themselves. It's not because they're not smart. It's not because they are not able to write. It's for none of these reasons. It's for the reasons that they're not good at marketing themselves. So yes, if you are interested in contacting me for further information, assistance with a resume help, you can absolutely reach out to me. I write them. I don't edit existing documents. This is a brand exercise. And for that reason, I write from scratch. You want someone who's going to take a different view of your background through a third party, through the eyes of someone who's just learning about you. But it's important to be able to get a different perspective of who and what you are as a person and as a professional. And that process also has a tangential benefit of allowing you the opportunity in a confidential setting to really talk about what makes you so amazing. And all of you have things about you that are just dynamic and wonderful. Use that as an opportunity to create a resume, a cover letter, a LinkedIn profile, a bio, what have you, that illustrates those things so you can move ahead with purpose, identify opportunities that are a good fit for you, and also pursue roles where you'll be compensated fairly, right? Because people, companies, for whatever reason, I don't know, I disabuse myself of the notion that people are working because they want to make ABC company $1 million. They want the $1 million, right? People have families, they have house and car payments, they want to go on vacation. So everything rolls up into your brand because you'll get those interviews. They see things about you immediately from your resume that are going to inform initial thoughts. And then when you go on the interview, you're going to have an opportunity to back those things up. Believe it or not, it informs salary. It informs other benefits. It informs the overall compensation package, not just what they're going to pay you. So having these things is an important part of your brand. Long-winded answer.
I have another question.
Go ahead, yeah. Just talk into the microphone.
Oh, sorry. I have another question for you, Debra. You are elevated pitch, right? Is it the same thing as the speech that you do during an interview when they ask you to introduce yourself? Who are you? Is it the same thing, or you have to have two separate messages? That's
a good question. No, you can use your elevator speech for that. You know what? A lot of times if people go to an interview, what do? They say, the interviewer will say, tell me about yourself. And the natural thing people do immediately, oh, well, I went to college, I graduated from Rutgers, and then I got my first job, and I was doing this kind of thing, and then I was promoted, and then I decided to leave 4 years later, and I went to this. That's not tell me about yourself. That should not be your answer. Tell me about yourself as an opportunity for you to quickly, succinctly, and clearly define your brand. That's tell me about yourself. It is not a walk down memory lane from the time that you graduated.
Yeah, that information's on the resume anyway.
Thank you.
It is.
Yeah.
If they look at your resume, they'll see that you went to University of Chicago.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments, folks, before we formally wrap up? Going once, going twice. Okay, well, I've got some comments, so I will wrap us up that way. First of all, Deborah, thank you so much. I certainly appreciate with all my heart how much of a supporter you are to not just the job seeker support community, but also longtime supporter of PSG in Mercer County. So thank you.
You are most welcome. I'm glad I was able to make it work. I literally gave myself a headache trying to log in.
Yeah, she was having internet issues right up until about 10 o'clock. I called her to make sure she was awake, so she was, and she resolved it. I think, you know, when you use a big hammer, that's usually what works. My stepfather was funny. When he couldn't get the remote control to work for the TV, he pressed all the buttons until something happened. So
David, I don't know if I told you, but literally one time, and I'm not kidding, I was delivering a presentation and the internet, of course, was not working. I ran next door to my neighbor's house.
Oh.
And I basically was like, you need to get out. I had to use, because we have different internet providers, and I'm like, I need you to go. He was like, okay.
Okay, yeah, that's innovation.
To do it. Yeah.
I did get a chuckle at your story you told about the woman who had the beach photo and she wore the bikini. I've heard stories similar to that. And certainly that company took a very bad approach, but that kind of thing happens lots of times. You know, if you, let's say, had a nice vacation, you were at the beach, you're with friends, you're wearing your bathing suit, whether it's a one piece or bikini, whatever, and you're arm in arm, maybe you've got a bottle of beer or a drink in your hand. People may just form an opinion that, oh, this is a party person, we can't hire them. And they'll never put it out in faceplate or whatever you call it, but you know, they'll still make their own opinion. And that's why when I go to the beach, I wear a one piece, by the way. I just don't want to be caught in a two piece.
I'm with you. I feel that. I do.
And you know, you mentioned early on about some people may be either afraid of networking, which is going out to meetings like this and chatting with people, or they'll say, oh, I'm an introvert, I can't network. I actually feel networking is perfect for introverts. And even though it's a room full of a lot of people, you're really best served by finding those one or two people to have the conversation with. Don't focus on the big group. Use your introvert superpowers, find that one or two people, and just have those conversations. It'll work really very well. So if you consider yourself an introvert, and I consider myself an introvert, even though I'm standing at this podium, oh, another one in the back there. Yeah, don't use the introvert as a fear. Really use it as one of your superpowers. And you know, she talked about posting. Debra talked about posting. You know, and I think a comment came up. You know, what happens if you have the same name as somebody who has a very bad reputation or criminal record, or, you know, the more you post, the more you stand out among other people, even if you have a similar name. Now, I can't say that will work as easily if your name is like John Smith or Jane Doe, a very common name. But you'll also be able to minimize bad stuff that's out there. So if someone wrote, I don't like David Schuckman, but most other people did write good stuff, or I'm writing a lot of good stuff, the bad stuff kind of gets pushed to the bottom. So don't be afraid to put good stuff out there about you or things that you know. And other people I talk with will say, I don't want to post because I don't want people to find out my personal information. And that's really a big concern, except you're not the ones putting the personal information. You're not putting your social security number and your credit card number and your home address. You're putting this stuff about you, your career, and your brand. There are plenty of other public records that are out there about all of us, and that's out there despite what we're trying. So don't be afraid. So I think Debra's advice about posting is a good idea. Keep posting.
Post selectively, in the sense that if you're a pharmacological developer, get over onto the proper LinkedIn group and put the post in there.
I did have a person come to me and she said, I want to get my address off the internet. And she knows I'm a tech guy, and she thought I can help her. And my first thought was, well, you know, all these yellow pages and other sites have our addresses anyway. And I said, well, where did you see it? She said, LinkedIn. And I asked her to show me. She posted her own resume that had her address right at the top. So I said, remove your resume. You'll take your personal information off yourself. So she had to be a little careful, but most of that personal information is not provided by us. Don't be afraid to post. Put the good stuff out there.
When
So,
you're,
yeah, go ahead, Joel.
when you're posting, you want to put contact information, not target information up there. You want to be contacted, not targeted. Let's put it that way, and put the information. They'll get that for you.
Yep. So just want to let you know the programs that we have coming up also the next couple of weeks. We do meet here every week at the Princeton Public Library while we continue to stream for the people that are unable to join us in person. And so we will be back here next Friday at 10 o'clock in the morning. The doors open at about 9:45, so come a little early. Rachel Simon will be here. Is LinkedIn on your to-do list? How to jumpstart your strategy. And Rachel, another wonderful person and presenter that we got to meet, she will be streaming from Atlanta. So again, she won't be here in person, so just as Debra is streaming from Florida. So that's worked out very nice. So we just had a presentation about branding today, and so and talked a little about resume. So next week we'll talk about LinkedIn. It's not going to be so much how to get started with LinkedIn, but really how to use it to your advantage. So that's next week. The following week, November 4th, Tamara Causley Robinson will be back. She's a life coach, and she will be here managing one's energy. And that's what she will be talking about. So how to keep focused and targeted in your own mindset as well. It sounds like a foo-foo topic, but very important, because sometimes for some of us, if we've been job hunting for a while, it gets a little old. We run out of steam a little bit. So we want to keep our motivation as high as possible. And just looking way ahead to the 11th of November, another resume topic, developing your master resume. Gary Landy will be here to present that. So that's 3 weeks out. So that's what we have over the next few weeks. Also, there are lots of other groups that you can visit virtually or in person. Some of the virtual ones are our cousin organizations. PSG of Central New Jersey meets every Monday at 10:30, psgcnj.biz. And then also PSG of Morris County, psgmc.org, meets on Wednesday mornings at 9:30. So that's what's going on in the next few weeks. So anyway, for those of you who are still connected virtually, stay online, and we will keep that session open. You can chit chat and network among yourselves. And those of us that are hanging around here, still have a good sized group, we will be hanging around, but not as easy for us to stay in touch.